Good morning, friends, and welcome back. I'm going to take this jewelry box that's been sitting around and wearing out and just not looking too good and paint it and decoupage it so that it looks like this. Today I'm going to be using the Americana, the Decoupaged paints. What I'm going to do is cover the whole surface in chalk paint first, and over the dried chalk paint I'm going to use two different colors. I'm planning on using two different colors of acrylic paint, and the chalk paint works in much in the same way that gesso does, but it gives better coverage than gesso. They're technically the same thing. Gesso was kind of the original chalk paint. I believe gesso is the Italian word for chalk. So let me cover this whole surface with chalk paint. Let it dry, and then I'll come right back and we'll start to do a little bit of a decorative faux finish technique that I'll show you to age this piece a little bit. And I'll be right back. Okay, I'm going to take some of this acrylic paint. The box is all dry. And I'm going to add a little bit, put it over here, very little bit, down onto my surface. You could use a paper plate for this. I'm just going to add a little bit of water to it. And you can see it is very diluted. And I'm going to take a brush. See this old chip brush? You can see I've used it 100 times. And dip it in here and use one paper towel to brush this off. So that I've still got a little bit of the paint left on here. Now let's go over here. And I'm going to age this box a little by dragging this dry brush over certain areas. Now I'm showing you two different techniques because you may like one over the other. This works good on corners and edges because you can go back and forth and it kind of removes a very little bit of paint. But then the other thing that you can do is take a different paper towel, dry, and blot that paint up, and then use the paper towel to go over your surface. And if you can see right here, it's got this very subtle type of aging effect. So you see these tiny little marks here. So I'm going to go over my box and add what looks like these little marks just to age the box a little bit. And now this is dry. If you feel like you've overdone the aging, although I think this looks just right, it looks beachy to me. I can actually see the wood grain through here, and it looks like the paint has worn away. If you want, if there are any areas where you overdid it or you don't like it, just take some acrylic paint. We'll do the dry brush technique right on that spot. This is really subtle, and you have to apply some pressure to get the little bit of paint that's on here off the brush. Now I've got this nice aged looking box we can decoupage on this. So one of my most common questions is, where did you get that napkin? So you know, I've been collecting napkins or buying them for decades. I don't think I can find this online right now. I will look. If I find it, I will put a link to it in the description box. This is the napkin I am using for today. And I am going to cut out this quarter panel. Now I'm going to separate it. I'm not going to worry about this overlap here right now because I can sand it away and give it a nice clean edge. I'm more concerned that I fit the main parts of the napkin on this surface. So the surface is dry. I am taking a nice soft brush, and this is the Americana napkin glue, and it will go right through the napkin. So I want to start in the center and gently work my way out. You can see I put a decent amount of decoupage glue on here, and I'm applying enough pressure to push the napkin down but not tear it. And you want to make sure you get these ends with a nice thick coat of the decoupage glue, but I'm not going over the edge, just up to it. And now I'm going to let this dry. These, if you see wrinkles in your piece, a lot of times as this dries, the wrinkles will settle out and calm down if they're very tiny. You can also facilitate that process by putting this in an oven, and I would not go over 170 degrees Fahrenheit in your oven, because, especially because we're using wood, you want to be careful because sometimes the wood can warp depending on the type of wood it is. But you really don't have to put this in the oven. I'm not going to do that with this. I'm just going to let this dry, and then I'll come back and decoupage a little bit somewhere else on the box. So let's let this dry, and then I will come back and pick up from where we left off. Now I used a glue stick, and I'll have links down below for those, to tack the napkin, and I didn't separate it. I put all three pieces over this magazine page because I'm recycling it and getting rid of it anyway. So I put the glue stick on, then attached all three sections of the napkin to it, and I'm just going to cut out a few of these images, and the paper in the background makes it so much easier to cut. Napkins can be really challenging to cut, but when you do it this way, it makes it a lot easier. Then when you're all done with the cutting, all you have to do is pull the magazine piece away or junk mail, and then you're usually just left with one more ply on the napkin. If you just dampen your fingertips, you can pull it right away, and you're left with the piece that you want. So you see I left these edges on the box, and that's because it's a lot easier to take a nail file and just go along the edge and file away any excess. And if you can't tell, I am only filing in one direction. I'm pulling the file this way. So I'll get rid of both of these sides, the excess on this piece. The one piece that I cut out doesn't fit on here. It's too long. But what I can do, because we're going to glue it back together anyway, is just snip out a little bit of this section here and here. I'm going to do the dry method again. Now you see I'm going right over the crease That's okay, because all we have to do when that dries is take a straight edge razor and cut, whoops, right down the center. I'll let that section dry. So the napkin has actually blended in very well with the background color. It is hard to see. Actually, I can see it a lot more through the camera than I can when I just look at it when I'm not looking through the lens. And now I'm going to add another coat of decoupage glue over the surface of this because it's all dry, and I'll add it around the whole piece. So when your piece is dry, don't forget to take your straight edge razor and go around any areas like this. And to be on the safe side, after I did that, I applied some more decoupage glue right along the edges. You know, I always stress that you have to get these edges covered with the decoupage glue. It looks, as I'm looking through the camera, like this really stands out. I can see this outline. Yet when I look at it in person, I don't see the outline at all. So it's the high definition of the camera that's causing that. But I did want to show you what to do anyway if you've got that. Just take your brush and do the dry brush technique and very softly go around these edges. I'm not going to do it because you can't see it unless it's in high definition. So I'm just going to leave this the way it is. There's a better picture of it. Now I can see just the design on it and not so much the napkin. Still showing a little bit. That's a little frustrating. I'm going to put my top coat on it, and I am all done with my decoupaged box, which is quite different from how we started out. Don't forget, guys, the links will be below the video so that you can go on down below the video and click on whatever links you'd like to. You can either read about the products or purchase them, or both. You may want to add a high gloss top coat over yours. I will put links below for high gloss top coat or for the matte top coat, which is what I'm using on this, or the satin. So you can go either way depending on the look you want. I like a nice vintage look on this, so I'm staying with that. Thank you so much for subscribing, and I will see you guys next week with another video. Don't forget, Upcycle with Decoupage is also on Facebook. You can go over there and like and follow the page, and Facebook will notify you every week when I put a new video out. And I will see you next week with another video. Thanks again, my friends. Bye-bye.